Hello, good people. It's Rob Lee. We're going to continue with the work that the Father has given us, and we're going to go further, and we're going to talk about Adam, and we're going to talk about Ethiopia. We're going to talk about some hidden history that the people don't know about. But Jesus Christ said that there is nothing that has been hidden that will not be revealed. And as we've learned, our Father always keeps His word. What I want to talk to you about today is Adam, the first white man on the earth. Before Adam, there were black people, there were the Asiatics, and maybe many other people. I don't have all the answers. Only the Father knows those mysteries, and it's hard for us to trust science. The Caucasians are a people who possess this peculiar gift of being able to show blood in the face, and that's what the word Adam means, to show blood in the face. And to understand history, and especially when your history has been hidden from you and stolen and concealed, you have to understand and study a little bit about language, and you have to do it through prayer, and you have to really go slow. Correct definitions are essential for a proper understanding of history. So we need some clarification of the term Ethiopian in the scriptures. However, if we're going to understand the word Ethiopian, we must pursue the word Adam, the name of the first man. Now, we would say that Adam was the first man of our race. He was a Caucasian, what we call the Caucasian. He had a sunburnt complexion. Okay, now that was what an Ethiopian was, brethren. An Ethiopian was a white man with a reddish face, even more so than other white people. For the AITH, the AITH, the ETHIFE, what it means is sunburn, and the OPS, the OP, it means your countenance. That's your face. So what you were talking about was the red face. Well, have you known any black people to be red-faced? No, not hardly. These were white people that had a reddish face. You see them all the time. In fact, they tell us now that when we get it, Jewish doctors tell us that we have a disease. Used today, it would describe the difference between a fair-skinned person from, say, Idaho and his sunburnt brother and living in Florida. If you were to go back in time 100 years or 200 years and ask your great-great-great-great-grandma what she was taught when she went to Sunday school about the Ethiopians, she would smile and say they were white, of course. However, there is a massive war against you and your history. And the ancient Ethiopians were white. Now, when Father mentioned them in history and in prophecy, do you really think that he would incorporate a race of black people into a white history? It makes no sense at all. That's not hate toward black people or brown people. You have to understand it would just make no sense. The Bible, brethren, is a racial history book of one people and all the enemies, with one that stands out that they have to go against. And it tells the story of their walk with their God, their Creator. That's the truth of it. That's not hate, brethren. It's called truth. And if you're going to serve your Father, you can't be afraid to tell the truth. You can't be afraid to tell the truth. You should not expect many of your immediate family and or your friends to understand this truth. For the Bible says that it is our Father's Spirit that searches out the deeper things of God. So let us continue and let us go deeper, learning about who we are, an Adam man. Now, many people like to call him Adamite. There's no such word as Adamite in the Bible. There's no such word as Adamic. There is the word Adam, and I will simply call him the Adam people, because that's who we are. In talking about the Ethiopia, ancient Ethiopia, in this kingdom, there was a kingdom in Ethiopia called Axum, and it was located south of Egypt. Now, therefore, before the time of Jesus, your people had built beautiful classical cities in this kingdom that was in Africa and traded with Europe. And that's what we're going to talk about here, is that in Africa was once white. We had built beautiful cities, we traded with Europe, and through the reservoirs and irrigation created a fertile land of plenty, because the Father promised us this. In fact, ancient Africa was a bastion of white culture. The teachings of Jesus Christ went all across the land. There was arts, music, sciences. I mean, it was a really beautiful and wonderful place. Ethiopia is where the Queen of Sheba came from. Most people think that the Queen of Sheba is being black. This is nonsense. Again, Jesus refers to her. Surely you don't think he meant a black woman. This is not hate toward a black woman, but you must understand that the Bible is a history book, like I just told you. This may anger people, but it doesn't matter. I'm tired of it. I know some people have gotten angry at me in the past 2 weeks. I'm talking and saying things that they don't understand, and I'm not going to apologize to anybody. I'm going to do what God wants me to do, and if it doesn't resonate with your spirit, that's just the way it is. I will not apologize for doing my Father's will. Many people do that. They want to apologize. I'm not going to apologize for serving my Father the way he wants me to. I have to love my people. I've been very hard on my people. Very, very hard on them. But they are my family. And God created them. What kind of a man or son would I be to look at my Father in Jesus Christ and say, I didn't love my own people, Father, the ones that you created. They're my family. And we are being dogged and hurt like never before. And we need people to stand up. The Bible is, like I said, it's a history book that the Father planted, his people. Remember, we were made in his image. Think about that, in his image. And Jesus says in Matthew 15:13, what my Father hath not planted shall be rooted up. Continuing with Ethiopia, in 960 AD, a Jewish woman named Judith murdered all the members of the royal family and put herself on the throne. Under this tyranny, the country, as of course, fell into insignificance because they do not have the blessing. You see, the synagogue of Satan and barbarians and all these other people, they do not have the blessing of the Almighty Father. Then, during the 1600s, black tribes called Gala swarmed into the ancient land of Ethiopia. They pillaged, burned, they destroyed countless treasures contained in the churches, the monasteries, and mostly they destroyed invaluable old manuscripts and paintings. Then what happened? Then the country went to hell. I mean, because the Adamite man was gone. With no Adamite man, no Adam man to till the soil, it became a wasteland, and it continues to this day. Countries all over the earth have moved the Adam man out, only to find out the hard way that when you move out the Adam man, the white man that God has blessed, it says, this is my family. When we move out, guess what goes with us? Our blessing goes with us. You don't get to have it. We recently spoke of this in Haiti. And if you've not seen the video, please see the work. This has happened all over Africa. When you move out the Adam man, the blessing goes with it. Even in the state of Israel today, they cannot get things to grow. No, they bring in Adam man to grow and irrigate because they desire the blessing that they cannot possess. A word before we mention another former Adamic nation. Northern Africa is now Islamic. It has been conquered. Very, very few followers of Jesus Christ are in Africa, period. Maybe in South Africa, but very few in Northern Africa or Central Africa. Now there is Christian churches, but they don't have the truth. But hey, I'm not going to be too hard on them because that's not what this video is about. The French and the British both had strongholds in North Africa, but they gave them up at the request of the devil's children. You see, the Israelites were given these gifts, that we would possess the gates of our enemies, that we would control the lands and seas. This was a gift from our Father, that when we do right by him, we were to basically, like the Father said, we were to co-rule this world with him. But Israelites, being Israelites, decided to listen to the devil instead of listening to their Father. This seems to be the theme of our existence. The British and the French both controlled much of India and North Africa. It was God's promise. Well, they gave it away because the devil told them to be politically correct, to ignore the words of the Father. And you see what happened. So let's look at another Adamic nation in Africa. Centuries before the flood in Noah's time, the Adam descendants, Adam man, traveled from the Himalaya, the land along the river Nile. And there they created a wonderful country that you may have heard of, a mighty and magnificent civilization of alabaster temples and jasmine gardens, and brought forth the pearl called Egypt. Yes, Egypt. Have you ever wondered why the baby Jesus and his mother Mary and his dad Joseph, they were told to flee into Egypt when the devil's children were trying to kill them? Why do you think they could flee into Egypt and mingle among the people and not be noticed? Because ancient Egypt, brethren, at one time was white. And there were still many white people there. It wasn't until later that it was to become something far different than what it was then. Many paintings and sculptures feature our fair-skinned Israelite people with their sunburnt complexions, not to mention the mummies with their blonde and red hair. Handsome Joseph, the son of Jacob, married the daughter of a high priest of the esteemed city of On in Genesis 41:45. Decadent Egypt was not the Egypt that we had built, but a nation infiltrated and corrupted by the descendants of Cain. And if you don't understand that Cain is a real people and what happened in the garden, the first man on earth white man was Adam. There were other nations, tongues, and tribes here. They were black and they were what we call Asiatic, and maybe others. I don't have all the answers, and I don't trust science. I don't trust anything that they say because they work for the devil's children. I do trust my Father completely to teach me if He wants me to know something. Adam, when Cain was banned from the garden, he told the Father, "Hey, they're going to kill me." Well, the only people, according to the liars in the pulpits, the only people on earth was Cain, Adam, and Eve. So who were the people that were going to kill him? Well, they were the other probably millions of people that were already upon this earth. I believe that the Asiatics were here first. That's why they were so numerous in number, even today. I don't believe the first people on this earth were black. I believe the first people that walked this earth were Asiatics. The last people up on this earth were the children of the Almighty Father, the white people. Now, perhaps you can better understand, and we will get into this later, but when Cain was banished from the garden, he told the Father, "Look, they're going to kill me." When Father put a mark on Cain, many people believe it's a physical mark. Just like I've told people the mark of the beast is spiritual. The mark on Cain had to be spiritual. It had to be something that the people, he would have power over the people. Now, if Cain and his daddy was the devil, the serpent, he would have had to have spiritual power over them. I think this mark was something that he had retained, that he was given. All right? I don't believe it was physical. How could he be given a physical mark and the people would see him and think, "Oh, we're not supposed to kill you because there's something written across your forehead"? You got to go deeper, brother, and the Father will take you deeper. If you believe that 8 people got off of a boat and populated the entire earth, then what we teach on this channel is not going to help you much. It's just really not. Perhaps we can better understand why in the early 1900s in Africa, a dam was constructed for the sole purpose of drowning several hundred miles of our heritage, including over 125 cathedrals. In the famous St. Mark's Cathedral, there is a painting of Noah, his wife Nama, the daughter of Enoch, their sons and their wives, all fair complexioned. This is scripturally accurate. For Noah was perfect in his generation, meaning he was pure in his race from Adam. The Bible in the book of Titus says, "Do not give heed to Jewish fables." Ludicrous fables that one of Noah's sons could genetically turn black, and comes directly from the Jewish Talmud of 500 AD. That 8 people got off of the boat, and one of them, he committed this sin, and from this he became black, one became brown, one became white. These are the asinine theories that are actually taught and believed today, and it comes straight from the Jewish Talmud. And the monsters that control the churches, the academia, and the YouTube, of course, that these lies are taught and they are accepted as gospel. It is incredibly sad, brother. The flood of Noah's time only covered that land. There was no worldwide flood, brother. There was just a flood of what is known as the Tarim Basin, and it was a localized flood. And it was meant to destroy a certain segment of this earth, a certain part of this earth, and that's it. If there was a worldwide flood, the Egyptian dynasty, the Chinese dynasty would have stopped. They went right on a rolling. The Great Pyramid has shown no signs of being inundated with water because it wasn't a worldwide flood. These are some of the things that you have to understand. You have to go deeper and let the Father take you deeper. You have to. God formed man, Ish, the word Ish, some 7,400 years ago, 7,400 years ago. He gave him life, and man became a living soul, a spirited being. And Adam was the first of our race. He was a tiller of the soil. And to till the soil is to cultivate. And from the word cultivate is where we get the word culture. Adam's descendants, our nature, is good and kind. We are to be of a noble character. We are to be genteel, to be of a learned mind, intelligent, and righteous of spirit. We are to be like our Father. Our Father gave us these gifts and said, this is how you are to behave. And this is, brethren, when you simplify it, that's what our life is. Do we do as the Father told us to do, or do we not? It really comes down to that. Do as Father says, you'll be blessed. Do as He does not say, bad things are going to happen to you, man. It's really that simple. But something else is in play here. We could listen to the Father but still not love Him. Do we really love the Father and Jesus? Do you love your family? Do you love where you come from? Does it mean something to you? Does Jacob Israel mean something to you? You see, having emotions, we alone possess a moral sense. We have what others do not have. We have our Father's Spirit in us. Adam's race is also known as Israel. Israel means man co-ruling with God. To rule is to govern with the laws of God. It does not mean that we get to sit on the throne with Father, because Father does not share with anybody. In the scriptures, the word kingdom means government. And by definition, such terms as civilized, conduct, individual, kindred, mankind, people, person, and whosoever refers only to the Adamic family. God put His family on this earth. And this seems to anger the entire world. Adam's descendants, the tribes of Israel, James 1:1, were called the Christians at Antioch. We were given many names. We were the people of the way, the Nazarenes, the people of the book. From Shem, one of Noah's sons, we were called Semites. Luke 3:36. Does that surprise you? It shouldn't. In the old dictionaries, Semite, because it comes from Shem, actually meant white. So have you been fooled by the word anti-Semitic and a lie that was conjured up in the 1880s? From Eber, the great-grandson of Shem, we were called the Hebrews. Now, having passed through the Caucasian mountains on our migration into Europe, we were called the Caucasians. Having crossed the Atlantic, we were called the red face, the red race, because the people we were able to blush in the face. And it must have been so distinct that other people noticed that those rosy-cheeked people, we were different. And many of you watching this now are saying, hey, I've got those rosy red cheeks too. I know you do, brother. In Asia, Abraham's forefathers built the kingdom of Mari. Excavations there have revealed bread on the kitchen tables, charcoal in the stoves, indoor plumbing, and tubs in the bathrooms. Abraham kept the laws of our father. Abraham was a godly man. He was just. And because he was just, and because he administered judgment, our Father blessed him, which is the key to everything. Do like Father says, get His blessing. Disobey Father, get His curses. Ancient India was another glorious Adamic civilization, being foremost among the nations of the world in wealth and culture. Here we were called the Aryans, a fair-haired people. We built lofty cities. And even in northern India today, you can still see some of the remnants of the white people there today in their hair, their features, and their color. King David was described racially as ruddy in Isaiah 16:12. David was of the royal house of Judah, the Germanic stock, and from his royal bloodline came the lineage of the kings of Europe, Genesis 17:6. However, the enemy, to get rid of all this, there are many things that they have done. One is lie. But because the Almighty Father says, my children perish for lack of knowledge. So what they have done is got us to kill one another off. And we kill off our family bloodlines. World War I and II is just the latest, but it's been going on for a long time. Another Adamic civilization, well known for their splendor of its architecture, was the old Persian Empire. Here too, we were called Aryans. Our ancestors had a full working knowledge of the electric battery. And did you know, brother, that 2,000 years ago we were using differential gearing in our machinery? Today, the Serpent Seed makes videos on the History Channel, YouTube, documentaries, TV shows depicting these inventions as coming from aliens from outer space. No, just the people called Adam. Feels good to know a little bit about your real history, does it not? Cleopatra, Greek by nationality, was the queen of Egypt. Look at the radiant palace that your ancestors built there. That is before it was destroyed by the children of Cain. Now, Cleopatra has long been looked at as black. Cleopatra was white. You see how they have changed so much of history. Hannibal, now, according to people in history, was black. Hannibal was white. Do you see how they are changing the history right in front of your eyes. It was at the city of On that the Holy Family, talking about Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, was given refuge after escaping the massacre of the young Adamic infants in Bethlehem, when King Herod, in his futile attempt to kill the baby Jesus, killed all the little white infants up and down the coast of Bethlehem 2 and under. You see, this shows you the depravity of the monsters that you are dealing with. Like the racial alterations made on the Egyptian wall painting of our ancestors, the enemies of Christ have also tried to confuse us by changing our identity by the wise men of our nativity. They know how important that is to Christians, the nativity scene and the wise men that came. The wise men went from being white to brown to black. Jesus, shown in his early paintings with his blushy, rosy cheeks. Jesus was the root and the offspring of David. Jesus was of the royal house of Judah, later known as the Germanic people. And by the way, those white men were white. Do you really think the Father, in his racial book called the Bible, would incorporate black people to be a part of that? No. You see, you have to use some common sense here. But the people that believe these lies, they hate the Father, they hate Jesus, and quite frankly, they hate his family. Libya was another Adamic nation in northern Africa. Here we created a cultural mecca of medical schools, huge libraries, academies. Michelangelo painted a blonde-haired Libyan on the Sistine Chapel wall. Our kinsman Daniel was also of the royal house of Judah. Cain's descendants attempted to murder him because, like Noah, his bloodline was pure. Daniel is portrayed as ruddy with his blonde-brown hair in the Christian catacombs in Rome. Decadent Rome, speaking of Rome, was not the Rome that we had built, but the empire infiltrated by Satan's children. Under the control of these serpents and their traders, Roman citizens were persecuted in these satanic circuses in what we call the arena, you see. And in these arenas occurred mass murders of white men, women, children. Christians were fed to lions. Men were made to fight to the death. That's the Rome that came later. The true history of Rome, a magnificent Adamic republic, has been deliberately suppressed. Have you believed the Dark Ages fable? That there were the Dark Ages, that the white people were in the Dark Ages. What you actually have is this, brethren. When the serpents were kicked out of all the countries, the light came back. When they came in, came the darkness. That's the truth of it. How does that sound for you? Also in Ireland, it was a center of important higher learning. Most folks have no idea about this. Most folks don't know that St. Patrick's Day, or St. Patrick, the reason he is so famous is because he expelled the snakes from Ireland. Surely you don't believe that it was actual slithering snakes, do you? Michelangelo, the greatest of all artisans, knew that we are God's race. On his Sistine Chapel masterpiece, he intended to illustrate this religious history. He depicted God our Father reaching out to his son Adam. Our Father gave life only to man. Life is contained in the blood. That's why it's so important. Thou shalt not adulterate means you shall not pollute your bloodline. And in 1 John 3:12, it tells us that Cain was of that wicked one. In Victorian England, when you said so-and-so is of so-and-so, it meant they were their son. For example, if I said John is of William, it means John is the son of William. The Bible is telling us that Cain and his offspring are the children of the devil, a reality that most cannot face and dare not try. It would turn their artificial world upside down. However, the true flock of Jesus long for these hidden truths. We long for them because we are of him and he dwells in us. This is what Jesus meant by both the Father and Son dwell in you. We will make our abode and dwell in you. They will live in you, and you will start to understand your life, them, your purpose, and your family like you never have before. That's why we're going in this new direction. I have no control over it. Our Father's divine law of segregation is for the well-being and protection of his children. Your Father did not make these rules and laws because he's cruel or because he's mean. Race mixing defiles our pure blood, resulting in illness, deformities, blood disorders, inherited diseases. Now do we understand why the children of the devil promote race mixing through movies, music, through academia, through Hollywood, through the system? It goes against what the Father says. Now I understand there are some people on the channel that are mixed. I understand that I know some of these people. These videos are not to harm you or to hurt you. I still love you. I've not turned against you. What I've done is turned toward my own family and said, look, I love you, and I'm sorry that I'm so hard on you. And Father has said, you need to love your own family more because they're your family, because they are my Father's family. What kind of son would I be? What kind of daughter would you be? What kind of a son would you be if God put you in a family? God Almighty, mind you. If he put you in a family and said, this is your family, love your family, and you did not do it. About 1925 and from then on, racial charge descriptions and illustrations were secretly removed from all of our schools, colleges, and universities. They were deleted from the textbooks. Things were starting to change. Courses in heredity, genetic inheritance were discontinued. In art schools, the Adamic face began to be replaced with another kind of face. The children of Cain and the Edomites, identified by Jesus as the devil's children, they hide behind our physical features. They hide behind names and nationalities. They try to copy us. I taught this in Genesis 4. When they were doing the breaking down of the families, they were trying to actually copy the names of our family. And they've done it. They have taken names that don't belong to them, and they've taken them for themselves. They will call themselves Jacob. They will call themselves that. They have nothing to do with it. Nothing. This is how they have been able to orchestrate their crimes against God's people. They are chameleons. They conceal themselves by attempting to look like us. One must only read our Father's word to fully understand. When we read the parable of the wheat and the tares, as taught by the King of Kings, Jesus Christ, he clearly explains to his children they are of the devil. They may look like us, but they are not of us, nor can they ever be. Nor can they ever be. God gave us emotions. Feeling angry and enraged at that which is ungodly is normal. I mean, what kind of a son would you be if someone offended your daddy, your brother, your cousin, your entire family, and it didn't bother you? This is your God. Jesus Christ is your everything. Man, you should be upset when people disrespect him, when they dishonor his family. It should make you mad. It should piss you off. When Jesus said that we must not love our lives even unto death, he did not mean that we should not hold value in our life. But what he meant is that we should not be afraid to die for him, the kingdom, and our family. Remember, we must read the Bible in its proper context. Psalm 94:16 says, your Father says, or who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? John 18:36 and 37, I close you with this. The words of Jesus Christ as he's talking to Pontius Pilate. Please pay attention. Jesus answered, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence. Pilate therefore said unto him, art thou a king then? Jesus answered, thou sayest I am a king. To this end was I born, and for this cause came I into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Every one that is of the truth heareth my voice. Every one that is of the truth heareth my voice. In closing again, the words of Jesus, every one that is of the truth heareth my voice. If you are of the truth, you hear the words of Jesus.